Today, I'm going to be doing a pour in our double crystal gem edge trinket dish mold. This has multifaceted square cut crystal gems, 2 rows on the side and 1 row on the top. I decided that I wanted the dish to be black and gold, so I started off with some Let's Resin Rustic Gold metallic powder. This is not a mica, it's not a see-through powder, so any color you put behind it will not show through. I'm just using a paintbrush and brushing it on what will be the base of the dish. I'm trying to be very careful not to go in those crystal areas because I don't want a bunch of powder that I have to clean out. I do speed this up so you don't have to watch me painting the whole thing. I did put a little too much powder down there, so now I'm just trying to use the brush to spread it out. Kind of going to the edge of the dish and bringing it in rather than out so it's not flicking the powder into the crystal areas. I have to be very careful with this because I tend to make a mess of things sometimes. I actually even spun it around here to make sure that I got all the sides of the dish or the bottom of the dish covered in the rustic gold. I do love these powders. They give excellent looks to finished pieces. The set that they sell comes with 5 colors. I think 2 golds, a bronze, a copper, and a silver. And I've used all of them and they're all great. Still painting the edges. I don't want a lot of excess powder floating, so I was being very careful with that. I started off with Liquitex Carbon Black, and it did not get black enough. I also used Fairy Tale Apothecary Radiance Fairy Dust, which is a sparkling gold ultrafine glitter right there, as you can see. I ended up adding 3 drops of pigment paste to make it a little bit darker. It's still not opaque, but it was dark enough and still allowed the glitter to show. For this pour, or this mold actually, you only can use 1 color. In our single gem edge mold, you can use 2 colors. And right here, I'm just pouring into the crystal areas first so I can tap it around and make sure there's no air bubbles. I'm being very brave not using a pipette because I tend to spill things. And I'm pouring the edges first rather than pouring onto the gold because there will be loose powder and I didn't want that powder sinking down to the top of the mold. Here I'm just pressing on the sides, hoping that there's not air bubbles or trying to get rid of air bubbles, tapping it. I did mix up 8 ounces of JDiction High Gloss 1:1 resin. This is just a basic, inexpensive resin. It's no low viscosity, no medium viscosity. It's just a normal resin. It works good for a lot of things. And here I'm filling up the rest of the mold. I believe this mold does take about 7.5 ounces total. There I'm just filling it up, trying to get it all to the edges without going over the edge. Tapping it still some more. You see a little bit of the gold powder floating up there, but that's okay that it's floating to the surface. Now I just use a little bit of a torch, get rid of any top bubbles, trying not to burn the mold. Oh, it's already time to demold. I will say these crystal gem edge molds are kind of hard to get out because the crystals are so embedded in there. Eventually, though, it does work its way out. You just have to move around the edges and pull them apart. That turned out really pretty. Look how sparkling those crystals are on the edge. I'm not really a fan of the rustic gold. It needs something. So I mixed up 1.35 ounces of resin and just added some more of the Golden Radiance Fairy Dust from Fairy Tale Apothecary just to give it a little bit of a shimmer. I've done a few other videos where I've used mica on the bottom for the single gem edge trinket dish molds. I even put butterflies on the bottom of one of them. This, I just wanted some kind of sparkle because even though it was shiny, I think that matte rustic gold was just a little bit too dull. Here I'm just being very careful. I don't need a lot of resin, just need it to go all the way to the edges. You can tilt it to get it there. Sometimes it wants to go more to one side than the other. Adding a little bit more. You can usually see in the light where you're missing it. I even take a little pen, silicone brush right there, pointed end, and push it into the corners. There's no reason to be swirling it. I was just doing that for some reason. Just giving it a quick torch, and you do have to cover it with something so you don't get dust while it's drying. The dish turned out beautifully, and it's the perfect size to hold your jewelry. Let us know what you think in the comments below.